Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Community Preservation Committee, Thursday, December 18th. I call the meeting to order at 7:05. We have 3 members here present in the room and 2 members present via Zoom, Ellen and Kristen. Ellen and Kristen, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Kristen?
Sorry, did you ask me a question?
Yeah,
you guys can't see and hear me? I don't know why I'm on twice.
Sorry, Kristen. I just want to make sure you could hear us.
I might have to rejoin all. I'm sorry.
Okay.
The volume's just really low.
Okay. Do you
So
want
I'm
to
going
rejoin?
to
We'll just wait a
switch
second.
devices if you could give me 1 sec.
Yeah, go right ahead. Go right ahead. All the mics are live. They stay live. Just so everyone knows as well, everyone on the sitting up here at the tables, the mics are live all through the meeting. If you need to mute them for some reason, you just have to hold the button down, but otherwise they're live. So as soon as Kristen comes back, we'll get going. You have to hold this button down in the center. Yep, you have to hold it though. It only stays muted while you hold it.
Oh.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Sorry, everybody, we just need to wait for Kristen to come back so we have a quorum.
Oh, Kristen's in the attendees. I think she just needs to get moved over to panelist.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, perfect. You can hear us too?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, let's start with the first application. Doug, if you want to come on up, transfer to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So I don't think from our last meeting, Doug, we had anything outstanding necessarily. We are going to take votes after we go through the budget so we know where we're at. So I don't think I had anything. I didn't have any further questions. I have a suggestion on conditions, but I don't have any further questions for Doug on the transfer. Katie, do you?
No, I don't.
Grant?
I don't either.
Okay. Kristen, do you have any comments or questions for Doug on the transfer to the trust?
I do have a statement to make in regards to how I'm going to vote. I don't know if that's appropriate now or
we're going to
at the time.
We're going to vote after we go through the budget.
Okay.
So everybody knows what we have. So
okay.
It's up to you, Kristen, if you want to say it now.
I'll wait.
Okay. Ellen, did you have anything further to add?
No questions.
Okay. So I think, Doug, for me, as we look to conditions, if the vote goes in a positive fashion, that I would be looking for the same conditions we imposed on the last group of money that was read. I think that's fair.
Yep.
I think it gives a level of confidence to the public as well on how the monies are going to be spent. And that would be the only thing I would like to add. And unfortunately, I printed it out and I didn't bring it with me. What the actual warrant, the motion that was read at town meeting was pretty long. So that's really all I have for conditions. Kate, I didn't know if you wanted to. It was pretty extensive what we did. We went through the 6 points of what they do and how they can spend the money and just kind of regurgitated law.
Okay.
But yeah. So
Okay.
I don't know if you want to add if there's any other conditions you'd like to see or.
No. Nope. This one's pretty straightforward for me. So
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, and I think our committee has no issue with we spent a lot of time on those conditions.
We did.
So I think it just should be the same. So
Perfect.
I agree with that.
Okay.
I agree as well.
Okay. Ellen, anything?
No, I agree with that as well. I think when we're putting the application together, the goal is definitely to have it align with the conditions that, as we said, CPC and the trust worked on really well together last year. So it makes sense to have those mirrored this year.
Okay, thank you. Kristen, would you like to see any additional conditions attached?
No, my comment when we vote will be more about the way we've laid out the conditions as they are.
Okay.
One quick question, and Ellen, maybe you can validate this. Lisa, you're really soft. Ellen, you're really perfectly fine. Are you finding the same, Ellen?
Yeah, Kristen, your voice is definitely coming through louder than everyone's in the room. So I think,
I didn't really put the microphone up. Is that better?
oh,
That is better.
it's better. Yeah, thank you.
Can I just say that's the first time in my life anyone has ever told me they couldn't hear me? So thank you very much. I will mark this down on my calendar. Awesome. So Doug, we're going to go through the other applications and, we'll take a position on, for town meeting. It's up to you if you want to hang around. I mean, we've kind of set the conditions. It's a yes or no, and we've kind of set what the conditions. Freddie, did you have anything to add on this before I
No,
zip through?
no, but you might want to send out the conditions from last year to the new committee members.
Well, I will. I printed them and then I'll send out the, tonight. I'll put the warrant in the Dropbox so everybody could see what it was. Let me just add that to my list. Send out warrant trust. Okay. It's up to you, Doug, if you want to hang around. I will leave that up to you.
Yeah, so I'll go home and I'll log in.
Okay, yeah, you can log in. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks.
Is Kevin,
If he's in the attendees, I'll text him as well.
I'm sorry?
He's in the attendees, but I will text him.
Okay, thank you. Travis, we're going to do you last because there was a list of things and a lot of questions and, okay.
And if everybody, next to Lisa too, Grant, I don't know if you intended for us to hear it, but if you could just make sure your microphones are up too.
Absolutely.
Testing, testing.
Yeah, how's that? Did you hear Grant, Kristen?
It's a little quiet, but between the two of you, it's fine. It's fine.
Do you want me to, is Kevin around or do you want me?
He's on the.
Oh, he is?
Yep,
Okay,
he is
perfect. Okay, we'll do that one. I'm sure he's got some update for us. So as soon as he comes in, let me know.
He is
I'm
here.
here, Lisa.
Hey, Kevin, how are you? Welcome.
Good. How are you? And my apologies for not being able to attend in person tonight. But oh gosh, I see two of myself on the screen, which is disconcerting. I don't know if Ellen and Kristen are experiencing that as well, but
So Kevin, I thought if we could start with you just kind of giving an update. I know that the select board had approved the $5,000. And if you could just kind of give us an update of where we stand on that. We had kind of talked about at the last meeting. We're trying very hard to stick to the guidelines this year, but I think this one is a little tougher to do that on. So if you could just kind of update us on where things stand, then that will help us as we forward the discussion.
sure. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, the select board did vote 5-0 to support the project in the form of, granting us $5,000 in consultancy fees so that we can get, the kind of documentation and the kind of report with, very hard numbers, a plan for maintenance, and biddable documents that, I think was, wanted in the last go round, and that I think is really in the best service of doing the project responsibly and with some good numbers. And really, that's about all there is because, you get into the holidays, and I talked about that with Grant and neglected to mention to him that I know that Dennis Semperbon, who, we had indicated to the select board that we wanted to use for this project, he's actually out of state over the holidays. So it's sort of, you know what I mean? It all comes to a halt in mid to late December. And I hope to get this, rolling in earnest and talk to him basically at January 2nd about how quickly he can turn this report around. And in that, I have a small window. So I think Grant indicated in your last meeting that I wasn't able to attend. That in full disclosure that I had some discussions with Bill Cundiff about without getting too far into the weeds with it, an alternative idea that would not involve CPC funding. But quite frankly, I think that's the odds of that panning out are, in my view, low. And so I'm trying to keep this, the original plan that we have together, with your very gracious support on track. And that's all about all I have right now. And I'm very mindful, and I just want to say that because I am mindful of your requirements and your timing, and that we're getting tight on time here. And I can well appreciate and sympathize with any impatience that the group might be feeling at this point. Let's get on with it. Where are the numbers? We want this report. And the best I can say is that, and as someone who has hundreds of hours at this point invested in this project myself in 2 years of my life, that I'm as eager as anybody to get that going. And so when I do talk to Dennis, about this, I'm going to impress upon him the urgency of trying to get this report turned around fairly quickly. Based on previous conversations with him, I think that's something that he can do. And certainly he's already invested a great deal of time in this pro bono at this point. So I think he's got a very good handle on what will need to be done. And it's, simply a matter of, the other projects that he's working on. And, he's an active contractor as well as consultant. So I know he's got a lot to do, but I hope that we can turn it around in January. And if you meet, sometime later in January or in early February, I should have a much better sense than, alas, I have tonight of where we're at.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. I know one of the things that we're trying very hard not to do, and I think that everyone here has been very supportive in working with Historical on this project. And my only concern is if it goes into February with the warrant closing and trying to get the warrant articles done, we got bashed pretty hard last year because we held it open for another project. And I hesitate to see that happen, but I don't think we're there yet, Kevin. So I would appreciate if you could, after you talk to Dennis, get a general idea. I mean, maybe it's 2 weeks and that would fall right within our timeline, potentially, if the board is willing to extend the timeline. Again, I can't speak for everybody else, but I think it was pretty clear at our last meeting that, people thought this project was important. So let me just ask Freddie, and then I'll go down the line. Freddie, what is kind of in creating the warrant, what is your drop dead date in getting this done and getting it to legal and getting it to the selectmen? Just an idea. I'm just not looking for an exact date.
I have no idea because I haven't been given the deadline to have the warrants.
Okay,
The warrants have to go to print 2 weeks before town meeting. And before that, it has to be reviewed by advisory, the
Mhm.
select board. It has to go to council. It sometimes comes back to the CPC to make adjustments. So,
okay.
Okay,
Fair enough. So Kevin, I think when you talk to Dennis, we'll have a better idea of, where things stand and how quickly we could possibly get this done. So that's it from me for the moment. Katie?
Yep. So thank you for all the time that you've put into this. I've taken a look at it and it's pretty cool. We should definitely try and restore it the best we can. I do apologize though, because I did miss the last meeting and a half. I watched it, but I couldn't quite decipher. Are we doing a CR on this or a
It was one of the things, PR.
PR?
We had talked about that.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't want to speak for everybody. I think it was a discussion point,
Okay,
possibly for a condition.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's something that I would not be in support of. I think
Okay.
that I would like to see us be a little bit more thoughtful on CRs. I've seen,
PRs.
why am I
Sorry.
saying CRs?
That's okay.
What is
Yeah,
that?
for the Open land, open space.
I'm not even on that committee. Okay. PRs. I've seen us kind of working in the town. I've seen us kind of tie our own hands sometimes. And I don't want to tie the hands of future generations. We don't know what kind of world they're living in. And something like this, I mean, I think Kevin, even when you brought this forward, you weren't going to recommend a PR for this. And I think that's something that we should kind of talk about at a future meeting.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you.
Mr. Farrington.
Yeah, I think the PR question is something that we should discuss if it kind of proceeds to that stage. The other thing that came up, I don't know, Kevin, if you had a chance to.
Brent, I'm sorry, can you pull it a little closer?
Sorry.
Thank you, that's better.
Another thing that came up, Kevin, at a previous meeting was the who is managing the project.
Correct.
I believe currently it's the DPW superintendent with the advice of the historical commission or historical commission chair. But I think we talked about the need for historic expertise for whoever's managing it. So I don't know if that would be changing that in the application to whoever the historic consultant is or something like that.
I think we talked maybe to see if Dennis would, be interested in what his price would be for that. So I think, Kevin, when you talk to him as well, that might be an additional figure that you could get from him.
Yeah.
Just for our
Yeah,
next meeting.
Yeah, that's something that I'd considered, and I think it would be money well spent and quite modest, I suspect, to have him do some site supervision, during the project on a periodic basis.
Okay, that
So
would be great if you could get an idea from him, and we'll put it on if we extend this for our next meeting. So thank you. Ellen?
Yep, thank you. So I feel comfortable extending it based on the conversations that we've had. As you said, Kevin, a lot of work on your end, on Dennis's end, on the commission's end has gone into this so far. And so I think, our processes and our timelines are important, but I think we built in some flexibility there. I feel like for this exact type of situation. And so to kind of cut it off at this point feels like not something that we would need to do. So I think to the PR question, I think, yeah, Katie, I understand your point. And I think, we don't necessarily want to put in unnecessary restrictions, but I'm also concerned about protecting the town's investment. And so I know, Kevin, your initial hesitation around this was that, the cemetery isn't going anywhere. So that kind of protection extends to the water tower. I think I'm not sure that I'm all the way comfortable with that yet. And so I think too, as CPC, the same way if we built in a little bit of flexibility on our timeline piece, currently the way our handbook is written is that, historical projects require a PR. And so I think if we want to address that, I think we should do it and just make sure that we're being consistent. And so if that's updating the handbook, then we should update the handbook. But I just am maybe interested to see if there are other ways that we can ensure that if CPC funding goes into this and who knows what happens in the future, that investment has some sort of protection.
Great, thank you, Ellen. Kristen?
I echo what Ellen said in regards to the preservation restriction. I know that this is a hotly debated topic in town, and our select board have varying opinions when it comes to buildings and when it comes to property. In this case, and that's a much bigger debate, right? That's not ours alone, I'd say, to even debate in terms of making those decisions for future future generations. But this is our handbook, I agree. And I agree, given it's the cemetery, I actually think we would want to be protecting that, especially this particular, we're spending this money because we want to protect it. So I don't see why we wouldn't want to protect that in perpetuity, you know, for the long run. In regards to, again, I think just more discussion amongst ourselves, not necessary tonight. In regards to the timing, I just go back to what we discussed, I think, last time. And I know we can't do that because we don't have a deadline for the warrant articles yet. But when we do, I do think we have to be honest with ourselves and set a drop dead date just to keep the process fair for everybody involved and make sure we do this right. And if not, we talked about before, perhaps moving it to the fall town meeting so we're not inevitably, you know, really delaying the project. So I think we got to see what the deadline is, and then I'd like us to consider setting a true drop dead date.
Great, thank you, Kristen. So I will just add on the PR piece. Initially, when I thought it was a smaller amount, I was like, okay, maybe. But now that I think we're talking a larger investment, and again, I'll put this on the agenda and, you know, we'll discuss this at a future meeting, but I'm kind of on the same page as Kristen and Ellen that the taxpayers are investing in this. And again, I hear your point, Katie. I do. And I think it's for this one in particular, I'm kind of leaning more towards protecting the investment. The only other question I have is, Kevin, are you guys going to apply for the Mass Historical Grant? I know we've talked about this a lot over the last 2 years. You know, we've done this with trails and whatnot that, you know, it's a condition, it's part of, if you get the grant, great, then, you know, it lowers the amount of the investment from CPA. So I just wondered if you're still considering doing that. I know we've had a lot of discussion around this. And with that, if I'm not mistaken, a PR is included? It is, okay. Sorry, go ahead, Grant.
If you receive the funding, a PR is required, and also that it's funded through Mass Historical. So Mass Historical is the holder of the PR, which sometimes it could be hard to either, I think, hard or expensive to find someone to do that.
Yeah, and I know from the last discussion on this, I think that is it March that is the cutoff? Again, I can't remember off the top of my head. We've talked about a few different grants for a few different projects, so.
It's in the revised application.
Is it?
I can't
Okay.
remember the date. Yeah.
So again, that would be one of the things as we move forward. You know, I'd like to know that we're at least going to do that, because if we can get grant money, then it's less money that comes out of CPA, and it's never a lose to do something like that, in my opinion. So, Freddie, did you have anything?
I would just add that the preservation restriction on historical projects is highly recommended by the Community Preservation Coalition as a best practice, and it's not required like a conservation restriction on any land you purchase, but it is strongly recommended. And as this is the Community Preservation Committee, I think doing best practices needs to be considered seriously when the experts say that's what you should be doing.
I just want to say that I'm open to that. I'm open to discussing it. I also do think that maybe we can talk about protecting it for the life of the investment. I think that's fair. But I do have some reservations, that's all.
Totally allowed, and we appreciate reservations. That's what makes this committee great. We cover all bases. So, okay. So I think we've covered as far as conditions. The only conditions I would potentially be looking for is, and I think Kevin's covered that, the project manager, the PR, again, that's up to a discussion at a future meeting, and the grant. Those are like the only things I'd like to see. And again, if anyone wants to add anything other than those things, and again, for discussion going forward, please, now's the time. Katie? Grant?
The only thing is, I'll note that, you know, if this moves forward and kind of get the report from Dennis, there were some other elements that we would update in the application that we talked about, like
Yep.
maintenance and timeline and stuff like that. So I think that would be
Perfect.
forthcoming,
Okay.
depending on, you know, what the report says.
Okay, so I will add that to the list for the next meeting. Kristen, did you have any conditions you might be thinking about at this point?
No.
Okay, thank you. Ellen?
Nope, nothing else.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Kevin, thank you. And we're going to be taking positions after we get through all three of the applications. So you're welcome to hang around, and I'm sure Grant can text you when we get to your application. Much appreciated.
Great, and I thank you all for your gracious support and patience. And I'm going to do my best to bring this over the finish line for you. So thank you.
Awesome, Kevin. Thank you. All right, next is recreation, Fayetteville Park improvements. Come on up, Travis. Oh, Don, sorry about that. You want to come up with them? Oh, no. I'm sure Travis would love to share it. Just grab a chair and come on up. And we have Kristen. So I'm sure she would appreciate you being here. So there was, I'll just start with this. There was a lot of discussion at the last meeting. Travis, I'm sure you spoke to Kristen. I don't know if you had an opportunity to watch some of the feedback.
I've spoken to Kristen, and we actually had a commission meeting after
Okay.
the meeting, and we went through some of the questions and concerns, which are obviously great. Feedback.
Travis, can you make sure the mic's on?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
I'm the
Is that
mic
better?
police tonight.
That's okay. That's a good thing. Is that better?
It is, thank you.
Yep. And we went through some of the questions and concerns, and they had some great feedback and great points. So we're able to have a few answers for those. And we've actually been pretty busy since the last time we met too. So I can update the CPC on that too, if you'd like.
Absolutely.
Good. All right. Yeah. So since we met last, we put out a survey to the residents. We had about a little over 350 responses, which we thought was pretty good for a 2 to 3 week window. We also canvassed the abutters and neighbors. Patty Fiore was great. She was able to rally the neighbors, and we got a lot of good feedback from her, which is great. Great feedback. The letter directed people to the survey, or they could call me at the rec department, and we got a lot of valid, good points, a lot of great feedback through that survey, which was wonderful. Some of the feedback questions we had were, are you an abutter? Out of the 350, 20% were abutters, or not abutters, but live within walking distance of the park. We considered them abutters.
Yep.
That was about 70 people, which was great.
Wow. Okay.
We got the frequency for how often they went to the park. Also great feedback. We got the main reason a lot of folks went to the park. I think out of 337 responses, the vast majority were the playground. A lot of people go to the playground for birthday parties, just to go to the playground. It's a wonderful park. And I think the playground was the key one. A little bit of basketball, not much baseball, sadly, and green space was one there too. The overall satisfaction with Fayetteville was good. People seemed generally happy with the conditions of the park, which is great to see. And we actually got some good facility feedback from the public as well. We kind of gave people like 10 to 15 options. What do you want to see at the park? We mentioned playground improvements, picnic shelter areas, restrooms, parking, splash pad. We kind of gave a wide variety of things. Oddly enough, and we got some really good feedback for new and improved playground equipment was high on the list. Go figure, being playground a popular one. Shade structures was actually one that we found out through this was something that the public would identify, something they'd like to see there. Restrooms was one. More permanent restrooms was pretty high on the list too. Right now we have one ADA accessible porta potty there. It sounds like people would like to see a more permanent or semi-seasonal bathroom option, which was good feedback to get. Sorry, to go down. Fair enough. We actually learned a really good, a number of recreational activities and events people like to see there. We kind of took the opportunity to send out a survey, but also try to get feedback from abutters or residents on what they'd like to see at the park. So we actually learned a couple of things they'd like to see. 61% said outdoor movies or concerts, which is pretty cool. Out of 350 people, that was one they identified something they'd like to see at that park. Pop-up programs or farmers market was one. Fitness classes, educational nature programs, birthday parties were all pretty high on the list. So it sounds like people would like to see more recreational opportunities there, which was really good feedback to get as well. And then we got to the nitty gritty of the park. So we asked folks what they would like to see, or what would they think about a Fayetteville repurposing of the T-ball field to a dog park and a splash pad. We found close to, and we broke it up into 4 categories. 0 was totally opposed to the project or neutral, didn't really have anything to say of it or just didn't like it. One was totally in favor of the project. Altogether, no issues. We'd like to see it move forward. Two was just splash pad. I'm just in favor of the splash pad. That's all I really want to see. Three was dog park, just the dog park. And I'm sorry, 4 was not in favor at all. 0 was neutral. So 0 neutral, 4 in favor. Out of 355 people, 29 gave us neutral or nothing, had nothing to really say about the project. 1 was totally in favor. We had 203 yeses for that, totally in favor of the project, which was close to 60%. 2 just in favor of the splash pad was close to 20%. We had 67. 13 said dog park, 4%, and we had 43, 12% were totally against. So a good feedback again. And outside of that, we had a good feedback too. A lot of the concerns were ones that we knew. Parking was one, obviously. We knew that going in. 2 was dog park next to dog park next to splash pad, which I'm hoping we can kind of come up with some instances that are going to help ease people's concerns. And those were probably the 2 or 3 biggest concerns that we had out of the survey. And then I took it even further and looked at people within walking distance. What do you think about the project? So I pulled the 70 people, and it actually rounded up to be similar to what the general public wanted. We had, and again, this is just the sample size, 5 out of 70 people, 5 were neutral, 36 were in favor, 11 were splash pad, 3 were just dog park, and 17 were not in favor at all. So about 20%, a little higher than general public, which is understandable. It's right in your backyard. You're probably gonna be a little more sensitive to it, which is totally understandable. So feedback was really good. We got some great ideas outside of the project for programs and things they'd like to see things that are facility upgrades they'd like to see down there, but a lot of good feedback. 350, I thought was a really good number for it being out, especially during Thanksgiving break. We put it out at Gobble Wobble. I walked Central Street and Winter Street and gave it out and put it in mailboxes. So I think we made a really good effort to get it out. And it's something that as we move forward, it's not going to stop either. We like to continue to engage people to get people's feedback as well. Neighbors were awesome. Had a lot of good feedback and conversations, good, bad, what they thought about it. So good feedback all around.
Okay. Great. Do you want to add anything else other than the survey?
And I know, is it okay if I just go through some of the questions that Kristen had too?
Go right ahead.
So we asked DPW to give us a hard count for parking on Central Street. They gave us a 15 hard count. And we have 8 deeded spots at the Historical Society next door. So it's 22 and 23 in total, 23 spots in total. And you have the 2 ADA spots on Winter Street as well. So that's the parking total. Money spent so far. We've only spent $2,500 on with the architect to get a 2D rendering. So we've only committed $2,500, and that was out of the revolving fund. So it wasn't out of general fund or taxpayers' money at all. The recommended size of the splash pad, this varies. It's generally 25 to 40 square feet per user. When I asked them to model it, I kind of took our neighboring town in Northborough and said, can you make something similar? And then I circled back based off of feedback from residents because they had some concern over green space versus splash pad. And we can scale it back from 8,000 to 4,000 if that's something we want to explore. It would reduce the cost of the project. It would increase the amount of green space that you have in that park. So it could be a happy middle for anyone concerned about giving up green space. And in the original project right now, even with the 8,000 square foot splash pad, there is an area for green space too, for picnicking and whatnot, throwing the ball around. So there is some green space still involved. And yeah, and that's some of the insurance issues. We did circle back with the town council to double check. All these recreational amenities are considered recreational purpose, so they would be covered under the town insurance as well. There is a added step of the dog park, for example, if you wanted to use your own risk. There is some signage, like an additional step, if you wanted to make sure you were covering yourself, which we would probably take up with rules and regulations and waste management plan and all that fun stuff. were some of the concerns that I think Kristen shared with us at the last commission meeting as well. And that's some of the stuff we've been up to since our last meeting.
That's a lot.
Yes,
Thank you for that. I'm glad to hear that you had conversations with some of the neighbors.
yes.
You know, that's always important. I'm just trying to flip through my list quick to see some of the things we had left. I know Grant, and I'll get to you. I have some of the questions that Grant had regarding impervious surfaces. Let's see, signage. But again, as we go down the table, I will hold off on any further questions I have, because as everyone else is asking you, I'm going to go through and check off on my list what I had outstanding. So Katie, I will go to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I did see at the last meeting, a lot of residents there giving feedback. So I love that you reached out to them specifically and are working with them, because that's going to be super important. I love this project. I had little guys when Fayetteville just revamped the first time, and they had the little ladybugs, and my kids loved it. We've outgrown it. But we did also go to Northborough for splash pads. So it's really cool to have one here. And then those who outgrow it, who have dogs, can still come back. So I love it. I'm in support as long as you continue talking to the neighbors and those that it's like really important, because it's easy for me to say it's not in my backyard, but
Yeah, I want to make sure we're being sensitive to that, because the neighbors are the ones that have to see it every day. So I want to make sure we have a park that everybody's happy with, and it's not going to stop based off of any decision tonight. It's going to continue regardless. We'd love to engage the neighbors. Obviously, we want to make sure they give us the rubber stamp to make sure that they're happy with it too.
To your comment on the generational use of the property, we intend to put the ADA compliant walkway in as
Oh,
well.
yes. Thank you, Don.
So there'll be an ADA compliant walkway that'll loop around the property. That should allow for those that don't have a dog and don't want to jump on the playground to also use the property. There's so few properties left in town that we can use for recreational purposes. This one, after an extensive search and talking to many groups, and looking at many pieces of property, this was the one that seemed to be able to accommodate, greater use. And the playground was already a project that went through CPC in the past. So this sort of leverages an asset that's already been invested in by the community.
awesome. Love it. Thank you.
Awesome. Grant?
Great. Thanks. It sounds like you've been busy the last couple of weeks. Couple things. I think we had talked about previously, speaking of the ADA walkway, the material I've been talking about impervious surfaces. I think we talked about stone dust. I know stone dust is slightly more pervious than concrete. I don't know how much really it is, but if there's any other pervious pavers or other kind of materials that you've considered for the ADA walkway.
Yeah, I did talk to DPW about it. They'd like to see asphalt, like a normal sidewalk, just for maintenance, upkeep.
Okay.
They'd like to see that, and that's the most accessible option for folks that need to use it.
Okay.
So that was the one that DPW recommended as well.
And that was what was in the original plan
Yes,
as well?
correct.
Okay, great, thanks. Let's see, so, I've kind of expressed, I guess, interest in potential reduction in impervious. So what you were talking about in a potential reduction, the splash pad is interesting to me. For me, I'm trying to get a sense of what the need is, right? So I appreciate the kind of square footage for one user for every 25 to 40 square feet, but
Yeah.
how many users do we think is needed, that kind of thing. I really appreciate the list that you provided in terms of other towns, both the cost as well as square footage. One thing I'll note is that I know that, not all the pieces were kind of filled in on that in terms of square footage, but of the ones that were there, it would be the largest. And then, that coupled with kind of concerns that we've heard from the neighbors about, the amount of impervious added, plus, the pathway would be impervious too, even though I think that's a benefit. It's just a concern that I have. So in terms of kind of next steps with that, I would be potentially interested in kind of seeing what that would look like in terms of a reduced splash pad, what like the redesign would look like, I guess what that would do for the cost as well.
Yeah.
And then the final thing I'll just note is before we, kind of get to the vote later, is that we are going to be reviewing the budget later, and that will be just the cost, significant costs will be kind of weighing on my mind as we go through it. And I don't know what the budget numbers will will be. So that's just something I want to put out there for now.
Yeah, I did ask Activitas. It was, if we go down to 6,000 square feet, we look at a conservative $40,000 reduction. And if you go on to 4,000, you're looking at $75,000 markdown based off
Okay.
40,000. So whatever the total was, you can deduct that.
Oh, that's
If
helpful.
we were to go smaller now, I can work on another rendering for the smaller splash pad. But yeah, you are right though. Like if you look at, and it is interesting, a lot of them are tied to more like larger rec complexes. So waterfronts, lakes,
Mhm.
ball fields, the ones that have larger footprints tend to be tied to those larger rec complexes.
Yeah.
More parking. Yeah. So I can definitely work on that.
Okay, thanks. And then I was mentioning that we don't know well, at least the committee hasn't seen what our internal, like how much funds we have available to fund projects. So just want to say that as well.
I think I'd say we appreciate the budget situation. But we thought we had a good idea and we wanted to encourage Travis to take it forward. So.
Oh, sure. We welcome all applications, right? So, yeah.
I know it was a hard reshuffle of the capital plan too, because initially we had Neary maybe trying to invest in some of those fields there, but with Neary being a little bit of a question mark, it kind of forces to reshuffle our capital plan a little bit. And to Don's point earlier, we start looking at playgrounds and park amenities that we have that we can invest in. They are rather limited. We can't create more park space. We only control 3 playgrounds in town. Fayetteville is, or Fay is only one. Fay is one of them. So try to look at all your facilities and how you want to invest in
And
them.
you didn't share, or maybe you shared in one of the prior meetings, in our sort of recreational plan, long-term plan, and other surveys we've done with the town. The 2 things that have come up are a request for a dog park and a request for, we'll call it a water amenity. There's another type of amenity that folks would like that we're not necessarily, we're a little bit risk averse towards. This seemed to be something that could be satisfactory for that request and not carry as much risk and cost.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you, Grant. Ellen?
Excuse me. Yeah, I will just echo the thanks for really addressing so many of the questions that have come up, engaging more with the residents. I think a lot of the questions or concerns that I have are ones that you've addressed. I think the size, especially as Grant said, kind of in comparison to other communities. So I think reducing the size then also addresses the impervious concern, gives opportunity for more green space, and reduces the budget. I think, as Grant said too, when we look at the budget, that will, we'll definitely have to see how those numbers come out because this is a sizable investment. I think the one other question I had that we haven't talked about tonight, and I believe you've addressed this in the past, so I'm sorry if it's repetitive. Just as you mentioned, with kind of the uncertainty about the schools and other fields, what conversations you've had with baseball and softball in terms of taking this field offline when there's kind of uncertainty with fields at Neary, fields at Finn, and kind of their feeling on this this field not being used for that anymore.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So that was actually the first group I called when we thought about doing this, and we brought to the commission was a call to youth baseball and softball, asking about what they thought in the project. We actually did a facility review, I think in 2019 or 18, and one of the things they listed was consolidating site amenities for baseball and softball to Finn. So there is a T-ball field at Finn that doesn't get used a ton, that isn't going to take much of an investment to get back online and usable. So they were in favor of it with the idea that they might be trying to relocate all of their fields to Finn, that T-ball included. So they were in favor of it. They don't. It's a blanket permit right now that goes out, but they don't use it as much. So it's something that they'd be in favor of. I didn't really want to take a field offline for any youth sports group that they use heavily. So they were okay with it, and that's why we moved forward with it.
Thank you. That's helpful. Yeah, I think my last question is kind of more for us as a committee. We'll go through the budget as we've said. The plan is to vote on everything tonight. Kind of if we are talking about sort of significant changes to the project in terms of the size of the splash pad, the potential cost, kind of how much wiggle room do we have to vote on a project knowing that there might be changes, pretty substantial changes coming?
So where you're standing right now, you have no dollar amount for the water tower. So you can vote to support a project, but you really can't vote on how much you can allocate. You're going to have a better idea of what you have, but you can't say so much for this project and so much for that project. You have no idea what the, so if the water tower is coming back, I think it's fair that the park can come back with maybe several options. I had one question, if I may. You said how many square feet per person?
It's it ranges 1 to 225 to 40. So it would be a large number. Like you're looking at a couple hundred kids in that splash pad. It's
You said 25
25 to 40.
square feet,
Yeah,
and that would be 160 kids in a 4,000 square foot. So I don't think you're going to have 320 children in an 8,000 square
I
foot.
kind of had a feeling that's why we looked at, based off of feedback from residents about it being a large footing, which I totally understand and is valid, and you're taking green space away. That's why I started those conversations with our engineers to figure out what it would look like to maybe whittle it down, the square footage, to half of what it might be.
So Ellen, my answer to that was going to be very similar to Freddie's. I think when we get to talking about a potential vote on a project tonight, I think there's a lot of things to consider. I know we kind of set in concrete what we wanted to do. And again, these are maybe edits as we look forward to next year that maybe we need to tweak some things in the handbook a little bit. But again, that's what this is about. So I imagined that was going to come up during the discussion. So yeah, I imagine there'll be more discussion about that because we want to, as Freddie said, we want to see, really what we're coming forward with. So. Anything else, Ellen?
That was it. Thank you.
Okay. Kristen?
Yep. I just also, like Travis, want to acknowledge the comments and concerns of the neighbors, especially on Winter Street. They came to our last CPC meeting, which Travis was not at because it was more about the application, but a lot of good points raised and feedback for us to consider. A couple things that I just want to touch on real quick in line with that is there was a lot of questions why haven't the public been really engaged in design to talk about some of these things like the size of the splash pad. And I think Travis touched on this. We had to kind of really juggle in light of what was happening with the schools and what our existing capital plan was. So this was, again, engaging to get a sense of what could be done there. There is absolutely every intent between now and town meeting, once we find out if we've kind of got a thumbs up to proceed forward, to continue those discussions, have the public forums, get the feedback. It's just, you got to appreciate the engineers are only going to do so much work for us before, they know that there's some viability for the project. There was also, I think, a lot of concern on whether or not as we have it written, if it could change, if in fact during those design discussions, we came up with a different idea. And, we have to remember that we could amend the ask or the figure on the town floor if needed. So, there are opportunities for that. And it's always been our plan to engage when it makes sense, when we know that this has some viability. I actually think the parking was already discussed. Again, I just want to make sure that folks feel like they have been heard. I think the other important thing is on terms of who the decision makers are, just being clear, CPC is really here and making sure, as we've been discussing, does it qualify? Do we have all the details worked out? Is the cost good? Does it fit into the CPC guidance? And of course, opinions in terms of how it aligns to the town's needs. Rec, we've just kind of come forward trying to meet as many of the town's recreational needs as possible because, again, we only have limited land and parks available to do anything anymore. But it really comes down to the town meeting, and that's just what I want to stress. Like the decisions, we are offering guidance, I guess, but the final decision really does come down to the town, and I just want to remind folks of that. So nothing's done and done deal, even if the CPC were to vote to support it tonight.
Great, thank you. I do have a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Travis. So we had talked about multiple times, the Land Water Conservation Fund grant is, for me, I think it's important, as I had said to a prior applicant, that, you know, we apply for these things. And again, if you get them, that's great. And it just lessens the burden on the coming out of the CPA funds. So I would hope that that's still a plan.
Yep, January 6th is the deadline, and we actually just sent the draft to the commission today. So we should be, hopefully that will go out in earlier January to the National Park Service. So hopefully that'll be something we get something for. Yeah.
Okay. No, I think
Still.
that's great. And I think it's important that as you're promoting through your forms and whatnot, that, you know, that you have tried to be extremely responsible and, you know, see if there's other ways to fund some of this. Let's see. Also, one of the big discussion points at our last meeting was the problem with traffic. So I just wondered if you have had any conversations with the police chief on, you know, just some of the concerns that seem to be a lot of concerns from the neighbors, or people are parking in people's yards, or people are blocking the street. And we know Winter Street is a cutoff. And I completely get that. I live on Oregon, and it's a cutoff as well. So I just wondered if you've had any conversations, and if you haven't, maybe, you know, it might be worthwhile to leave some of the concerns of the
You can
residents.
most definitely reach out to the police chief. I've been mostly working with DPW to try to figure out how we can reconfigure what we have to try to make it safer and fit in as many spots as we can. Right now, it's kind of just open-ended and it can be a little chaotic. So we're trying to figure out with DPW what that looks like and how many spots we can actually get in there to have it marked out. But I can definitely reach out to the police chief to try to figure out if there are any other safer options that maybe we're not thinking of that we can explore. But mostly with the DPW department, try to figure out what that looks like when we mark it out and how many spots we can get in.
Okay. I think it's just a worthwhile discussion to have. You know, it was one of the main points from most of the abutters that had came to the last meeting is the concern about, you know,
And it's a totally
blocking
valid
of the
concern.
road, and it's a safety. So, and then I just have a question on the parking spots on the street. Are those spots, maybe deeded isn't the right word, but part of the park, or is that right-of-way parking on the road?
I don't know. the answer to that.
Okay,
I'll ask DPW. We don't know the answer.
yeah, okay. That would be great too. So
And those are just the one on Central?
just the one on Central, yeah. And okay, so I think those were some of the comments. I'm going to go to Freddie, and then if there's any abutters that wish to be heard, you're more than welcome. Freddie?
No, you answered my question on the 4,000 square feet. I think while the committee is not voting specifically on dollar amount for the next meeting, maybe do a layout, what it would look like, so people would know what it, because you said there was already some amount of square footage of green space. And one of the questions is, how would this, I think you said 8,000 square feet.
8,000 square feet was what was proposed originally, yes.
So if you take 4,000, that's an additional 4,000, but does it connect to the existing green space? Because adding more to already existing makes it visually and use-wise much bigger than if you have a little here and a little here. And so having a site design showing the options for the CPC to look at ahead of time in addition to the cost. And I know you're not going to engineer this, but, you know, back of the napkin type of
we can do that.
design layout so that people would get an idea of how it could look and feel.
Yeah.
And one of the other questions I think had been about the fencing, interrupting views and being unsightly. And I don't know how you address that, but, you know, if you're reducing the size of something, the fencing's around the splash pad, correct?
No.
Dog park?
They'd be both.
Around the dog park.
Yeah, around the dog park, most definitely. The splash pad, we had talked about the entrance of the dog park being on the other side of the splash pad, so you don't want any dogs entering near the splash pad in case one were to get off leash. But we had talked about, I think it was brought up in the next meeting, at least fencing in the grass area or grass and splash pad area that faced the dog park, in case one dog got off leash and made it all the way around, there would be another like 4 foot tall, like not chain link, but mesh fence,
Yeah.
just to keep people out or dogs out, they can make it around. That was what we had talked about.
The good news, though, is that there's fencing there currently with baseball.
Yep.
And that fencing is very tall because it's a whole batting cage. So that would all no longer be necessary. The fencing that would be replacing it would be at a much lower height than the existing fencing. So there is already some sort of sight line with the existing baseball cage that we would be remediating by removing that.
So in whatever way, like maybe an example of the type of fencing you're thinking of using so that the abutters would be able to see with pricings, if there's another way of doing it that's more attractive for what the cost, because always the cost is
Yeah.
concerned, but the aesthetics, I think, would be helpful for the committee to see.
And we had, I think we can't go over 6 feet, so nothing would be over 6 feet, mostly 4 feet. And we talked about some native plantings around the dog park side, so it looks a little more aesthetically pleasing. And you don't just see fencing. So that was I think we had talked about that too, some plantings around as well.
Talking my language.
Awesome. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to be heard? Just please come to the microphone over on my right hand, your left hand side. Just state your name and address first, please, and then thank you.
Can you guys hear me? I know that microphones are an issue.
Kristen, can you hear her?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay.
Lori Borden, 9 Winter Street. So thank you for having us here today. And I also want to thank you all for acknowledging our concerns as abutters and neighbors and walkable people. I do have a letter that I'd like to submit. I know we have people on Zoom, so I would read it. It's not that long, I promise. Before I do read it, I just want to acknowledge the fact that I know that this is CPC, and having been part of a small group back in, I think, 2003 that actually got CPC passed here in town, this may not be the right letter for the right venue. However, we thought this was a great opportunity to actually share some of our concerns and get them on the record and get kind of proactive in our engagement. I also heard tonight that, a lot of it being, in our backyard. I just want to reiterate that the neighbors are not against this project. We just want to be a huge part of how it comes out. I know if I can speak for myself, it brings me great joy to be, walk my dog today and then see a handful of kids running around in the playground on the green space and out on the playground here in December, in one of the coldest months that we've had. So I just wanted to put that out there. So I did bring you guys copies, so I'll just read this at this point. Dear Southborough Recreation Commission and CPC members, on behalf of the neighbors listed below who have given consent to include their names and addresses, we thank you for the opportunity to share our concerns, support, objections regarding aspects of the proposed project for the Harold E. Fay Memorial Field, as reflected in the public schematic. This park is a well-loved community recreation area that currently serves Southborough residents of all ages and supports a wide range of activities. And I would also add to that first paragraph that it also serves not just Southborough residents, but many surrounding community members. We respectfully support the CPC voting to approve funding for the project, only with the stipulation that the proposed seasonal splash pad be in fact removed from the plans and that parking concerns be addressed. Preserving this area as green space ensures that the park can continue to be used year-round for spontaneous play, picnics, clinics, group gatherings, and other creative and flexible uses that benefit our children and our community. In addition, we ask for assurance that neighbors of the park will have meaningful input as the project moves forward, which I believe we have received that tonight. We hope to collaborate on addressing issues related to parking, increased traffic, the dog park and waste management, the density of the proposed layout within a limited space, and other important aspects of the design. Our goal is to stand with Recreation Department at next year's town meeting in support of a project we can all celebrate, one that enhances recreation while honoring the character, needs, and well-being of the surrounding neighborhood. The Community Preservation Act is intended to preserve community resources. We believe this project can and should reflect that purpose by avoiding expansion that could negatively impact the existing community and its uses of the park. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, neighbors of the Harold E. Fay Memorial Park. And there's a few of us from Winter who have signed that. So I can hand this in. And again, thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. And yeah, I would need a copy to go in the, with the minutes as a document, and I'm sure Recreation would love a copy.
Yeah, thank you, Lori.
Okay. Awesome. I would expect nothing less, Lori, than you being prepared. Okay, that's good. I'll just take one for the record. I will scan this for Kristen and Ellen. I will scan it and put it in the Dropbox, okay? So you guys have this letter. I'm not going to put you on the spot, Travis. If you have anything you'd like to say to this, that's great. I'm not going to put you on the spot or the Recreation Commission. It's just additional information, so.
Additional information, thank you for the feedback. I'm looking forward to continue talks and continue to engage. Thank you, Lori.
Great. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to be heard? Okay. Is there anyone on Zoom? If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. Going once? Going twice? All set, Grant? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. So the second piece to this, and we'll just kind of go through this quickly, is we've done it with everybody else, is conditions. And I'll be honest, I haven't, it's a big project, so I haven't really given the amount of time I need to give, and hopefully over the holiday, I'll be able to do this to some of the conditions that I'd like to see potentially. Katie, I don't know if there's anything off the top of your head.
No, I just, if I could ask just a clarifying question from, I heard that in your letter, which was well done, that you want to see something, or you're against the splash pad because it's not seasonal. Is that the only reason? I don't see a drawback, but I haven't really dug deep.
Oh, got to come to the mic, Lori. You can come up here even. I'm sorry.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Questions are good.
No, that's good. So the splash pad is in fact seasonal. I mean, in New England, we have an average of 3.5 months that this is really usable. And then the other time, it's not usable. As far as I'm aware, I'm open-minded to, if you want to run through splash pads in November, that's your choice. But that's a big thing of it. I mean, as I had said at the last meeting, as a coach, a nurse, as I see all of the created uses of this green space, you know, kids playing soccer, like I said today, they're throwing the ball. And that's going to be taken away because this splash pad, like I said, can only be used, being generous, May to September, part of May to part of September. And that takes away the opportunity to use it for other things.
Okay,
So
thank
yeah,
you.
that's a huge part of it.
Okay.
And then I will add one other thing that came up amongst the neighbors. The other part is the surface area of that splash pad. I think you did address, or it was addressed, some of the piping, the drainage. I know it's recycled. I know that you guys assured us DCR was on board with this and not having concerns. But those are concerns about discharge, about the pipes, the water, how do we supply the water? So.
Okay, thank you. That was
All right,
helpful.
Thank you. Mr. Farrington.
Yeah, I mean, there are, I think, I was thinking conditions would be closer to the warrant article, but kind of what we've discussed tonight already. Also, perhaps kind of materials used. I know we talked about wood chips and the use of those, and making sure that like artificial turf isn't put down, stuff like that, that should be in there. But yeah, I'd have to go with some, or I guess specifications about the fence and other things like that. So I know a lot's come up, but I think that would be probably at a later date.
Okay, nope, that's totally fine. We've done it on the rest of them. So I just thought I'd throw it out there in case there's something that we can, you know, start putting a list together. Ellen, have you thought of any conditions?
Not at this point. I just do have a random thought. Just to the seasonality question. Is it possible to make something like this with a material that can be used when the water's off? So outside of the splash pad season, can it be used as a place where kids can ride bikes or scooters or skate? just to, yeah, extend the time that it can be useful.
Yeah, it wouldn't be closed during the winter. And I have seen other communities that take the elements off, and just make it a pad. So you would be able to ride bikes, do whatever you want. And I think with Hope's, to Lori's point, if you make it a smaller footprint, you would still have a very large area for green space for kids to play, throw the ball. I'm hoping that there's some sort of happy middle ground that we can come to. But usually, not unfortunately, but pools tend to be like early July to mid-August, and you tend to lose lifeguards with, going back to college or fall sports. The splash pad tends to be the happy middle, that there's not much liability or little liability. And you get to open it earlier in April, May, depending on the weather. And I've seen some splash pads in Massachusetts have made it through weekends through September, October, based off of the weather. So it seems to be the happy middle. And if you were to take the elements off, then theoretically you could have a play space for kids to ride bikes or whatever they want to do with it in the wintertime. I've actually seen some that put chillers in it, and then they flood it, and then they can use the winter for a ice rink. But that is not in the plans.
So could you, maybe for the next meeting, again, I view this more of a maintenance cost.
Yeah.
What would the cost be to remove the elements and then put them back in? Just curious.
I can make sure that's included with the plan.
Okay, that'd be great. Ready?
Could you add what it would cost to use it as an ice skating rink?
I can certainly ask that.
Back a napkin.
I can make,
understand, but
Nashua has a park, and I forget, I'm blanking on the park, but they have a basketball court and they have a chiller in the basketball court. And in the wintertime, they put 4x4 blocks on the side and they flood it. And then it becomes an ice rink in the winter. I thought it's pretty cool.
I'll just mention that outdoor play, when I was a kid, we used to go skating on the rivers and the ponds, and that's not really doable anymore because of the warming of the season, and it would be safer and something maybe that some children would really enjoy. And when I went to elementary school a couple years ago, we used to flood the basketball court,
Yeah.
and that's where I learned to skate, so.
I think the recreation department used to have a skating rink in front of Woodward and they used the
Right.
lights for it at night. Something
Well,
It was.
maybe look at.
I don't think
There
we're looking
was.
at lights, but
It was a pretty big rink, and then there were so many years that it got warm, and then it melted, and then it was tough, but that was used. I can remember that when my son was small.
Yeah, they're not an easy endeavor.
Yeah.
The constant maintenance and shaving and resurfacing it's not an easy endeavor.
Yeah.
It's a daily grind, and with the weather, you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Just one quick point I want to make from the last meeting that I think is important. A point of clarification we were asked is this proposal does not include lights. I think that was another concern. So just to be clear, if anyone's wondering, there's not lights there and this proposal does not have lights.
Great. Thank you, Kristen.
Lisa, I know we're still discussing, but I just wanted to let you know that a hand has been raised.
Oh, okay. If you would bring or unmute them. And I don't know, who is it, Grant?
Paul Sharma.
Okay. Paul,
Hi, I'm Parul.
Rule.
Arun, sorry
Four
about
Winter
that. I
Street.
mispronounced that. I apologize.
No worries.
If you could just say you've already given us your name. If you could just give us your address, please, before you speak.
Yes, 4 Winter Street,
Thank you.
Southborough. Yeah, favor. I just wanted to know, in Northborough, when we used to live, the town had its sewage system that would take care of the splash pad on 135, if that is being referred to here. How will the drainage occur for the Southborough Park, since we don't have a town sewage system?
Well,
I'll go offline.
Let me know if I'm answering your question correctly. So I think the splash pad would be designed to have recycled water. So it wouldn't have water drain through it. It would recycle the water it uses and then treat it as it goes. So I don't think it would have a huge impact on the sewer system. Am I answering that correctly?
Or lack of sewer system.
What's that?
Or lack of sewer
Or
system.
lack of sewer system, I
Yeah.
apologize.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Did you have any other questions? Or are you all set?
And then the size of the splash pad in Northborough is the size of like a basketball court. It's off Route 135 and next to a toddler's park. That's the one we are referring to here, right?
The one in Northborough?
Yes, it's in the intersection, close to the intersection of Route 20 and 135.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one we asked them to model it off of, when I talked to the architect originally, but after hearing feedback from, some of the residents and the, abutters and just general feedback, it seems like, everyone would prefer more green space, less, spray park. So it might be scaled down as well.
Thank you. I'm one of the butters. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Travis, I guess that's it for the moment.
Thank you.
Thanks, Travis.
Yep, thank you. Travis, are you hanging around or are you going? Okay, so we did before we go through the budget and everything else, I know Kat is here from Trails. We had put in the Dropbox some information. Kat, do you want to come up and briefly go through it? And can you pull it from the Dropbox, Grant? It should be under Trails. I just know that I'm not sure if everybody's had a chance to see it, that's all. Because I put it in this afternoon, well, noon
Does
time.
anyone here need a hard copy?
Oh.
Have some extras?
That's even better yet. Yeah, I printed mine, so.
I can't access that today, so if we could pull it up on the screen, I'd appreciate it.
Where is it?
It should be in the Dropbox under Trails, I think. There should be a folder. Thank you. Did I screw that up?
Oh, it could be,
Down there for a second.
wait, it could be me, sorry. I think I was on the December 3rd.
Yep, it should be in there, Grant. I'm pretty sure I added it this afternoon.
Grant, I can share if that would be helpful.
That would be very helpful, thank you.
All right, Ellen, thank you.
Do you need permission or do you have it?
I think I have it, just have to click all the things. Oh, no, I do need permission. Thank you.
I think you should have it now.
Yes, yeah. Can you all see that?
Go right ahead.
Great. Thank you. I want to thank everyone for the last minute ad and for Freddie and
Yep.
Lisa's time in allowing us to amend the agenda for us to discuss what's going on today. So I'm going to be talking about phase 2. I think I came in July. I don't know if the committee has had any turnover since then. I don't want to over repeat things that you may already be aware of. So I'm going to keep it as high level as possible. Just ask me questions where I might not be covering it in enough detail. So I'm going to talk about phase 2.
Can I just interrupt you for 1 second? Kristen, can you hear Kat?
I can.
Kristen?
It's quiet, but I can hear. If she can get any closer, that'd be great.
Is this any better?
Yes, it is.
Great.
Sorry, go ahead, Kat.
In my face. So I'm going to be talking about phase 2. This is the bridge and the boardwalk. The funding for it is on the page. It's number 2. So the budget is 183 with a contingency of 27.5 for a total of 211,232. That's the bucket of funding we're referring to at this moment. So a quick status update. We have the engineering services that we talked about earlier this year have all been completed. We went to bid and we received 2 bids on Monday. And unfortunately, they came in much higher than our current budget. So that means we don't have a successful bidder, and we need to redirect and understand what we can do at this point to continue with the project and some options. And so we need some input from CPC. We have some ideas that we'd like to discuss with you and some specific asks to see if it's even viable. We won't have all the answers to the questions because it's been 3 days. So we've tried to get as much information as we can to kind of have this conversation because it just happened to be this week and it will help us be able to decide what to do moving forward. Okay. So under number 4, you'll see the bids came in quite high. And some of the potential reasons being site access challenges. It's a difficult place. That's one of the reasons we were opting for a fiberglass modular bridge, because it doesn't require large cranes and such. And also a material cost. We all know costs have gone up. I spoke with the bridge vendor this morning just to understand from the original estimates in 2023. So we had two quotes, one in 2022, and we revised them in 2023 before coming here with that application. And they've raised about 25% higher than from 2023. So it just helps us understand a little bit why the costs are a little bit more. We had Travis reach out to the two bidders to request a cost breakdown of the bids so we could understand what might be happening, which structure, if we had to choose one, could we viably build or work with. And while they couldn't give specifics for, we'll say, competitive reasons, they did provide some guidance where if we took the bid and it was like 65%, 35% split, 65 being the bridge cost, 35 being the boardwalk cost. And even with those numbers, I mean, with one of them, we could potentially do the boardwalk, but there's reasons why we wouldn't want to just do the boardwalk. So I'll talk about that next. I'll stop and ask, see if there's any questions at this point. No, okay, great. So what we're looking to do is, so now we need to regroup, right? So we don't have enough money to do the project as bid. So now we're thinking, okay, so the original reason we chose the bridge material was because of the longevity. 75 years is much nicer than 25 with pressure treated wood, for example. So, and the ease of putting it together. So now we're looking at, okay, we don't have enough money for the fiberglass. We can go with a less expensive option, which would be timber, right? And it could be up to 30 to 60% less expensive. And so that would bring the project back into scope, right? So we would need to understand, obviously we may need to, the engineering plans that we've already paid for with ARPA money would need to be adjusted. We've spoken to the Beals and Thomas, the engineer, and there would be some cost in adjusting the plans, but it's not a full revamp. So we're not starting from scratch, but we would have to understand the load bearing of lumber is different than fiberglass, right? So we'd have to do that. We'd have to understand what those costs were. We don't have the quote to understand what that is, but that's, you know, an idea. And so we would like to also prioritize building the bridge for this reason, because Freddie brought up a really good point. You don't want to build a boardwalk to nowhere. And
Yep.
right? So if we built the boardwalk, we still can't get across the stream.
Yep.
And just reminding us, the reason we're doing this project in the first place is to get us off Route 30, which is an impossible place to pass at this trail intersection. And there's 3 regional trails. So we would focus on building the bridge. And how would we get across the boardwalk? Well, we would install a rope swing and allow people to swing across. I'm just kidding.
I was
Okay.
thinking, that's a lot of fun.
That's where we're at.
Zip lining.
Yeah, well, yes. But no, there is a small section of around the wetland area where folks could pass. It's not ideal, but if we had to, we could make that work in some way, right? And then eventually go back to build a boardwalk, because that's the safest path across the area. So that's what we'd like to do, and that's how we would redirect. And so what we're need to understand is even possible are the questions in number 6, the potential next steps. So this is where we're asking, for example, so we have phase 1, which I can talk about in a minute, which is involving the interpretive signs and the fencing, the ADA paving and things like that. Those are all done. The signage is in production now, and the installation will be happening with, so Mass Trails grant covers all of, from the signage, the installation of the fencing and all of that. That's Mass Trails. That's going to be closed out in 12/20 at the end of this year. And so then we're using CPC phase 1 funds, the 42 plus contingency equals 47, just for the installation. So that's, we'll give it a ballpark of like up to 6K, which is probably going to be a little less than that. Maybe. So of that will be, we finish phase 1. Okay. So then we would have roughly 41,000 left in phase one that we haven't touched. Because we're so efficient at our other money, just being funny. So what our ask of CPC would be is, would you consider, we can't just use it for phase two, but would you consider supporting a warrant article in the town meeting in 2026 to put it to vote to see if the voters would be open to allocating the remaining funds to phase two? It's a related but separate project. Okay, so that's ask number one. And related to that would be, one, we'd have to get your permission to release contingency funds from phase one, because I don't think you have officially voted to do that. So that's not our money yet, right? It's only the core 42. The other ask, and we're asking all of this at once so we don't have to keep coming back. Phase two has a contingency, so we would ask a release of phase two contingency so that we would know what the bucket of money we're spending or we could spend on the project. And let me just see. And would you consider, so right now I think the phase two spending deadline is 2026 December. So we would ask, would you consider extending that to 2028 December? But we would hope to do it as soon as possible because we don't want to go to 2028. But what we're learning is that there's a lot of unknowns as we go through this. So we need a little bit of runway so that we don't have to come back and ask again for an extension. So that's why we've kind of grouped it here. And I think I should stop talking and let you start talking.
All right, I have a couple questions.
Of course.
So, phase two, so the scope of the project and what you're proposing, just so I'm clear, you're still going to do the boardwalk and you're still going to do the bridge, which is what town meeting approved,
Ideally.
ideally. So I have a little concern that town meeting voted on both. And what if we go forward and you still can't do both? Would the town meeting have approved the $211,000 for half of a project? So if that makes sense, because if the project was the boardwalk and the bridge and you're only going to do either or,
Right.
Because of the funds, I worry whether the taxpayers would have supported it either or.
Okay.
Again, just,
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw that out
Yeah,
there.
that's a good question.
I did go back and I did pull the warrant articles because I wanted to see exactly how they were voted. So in case there was any concern of changing a project, would we have to go back to town meeting? And that was a question I was gonna potentially ask town council. But I think from what you're saying, at this juncture, the goal, the plan is still the boardwalk and the bridge. So I would imagine if it goes back out to bid, you're gonna know whether it's boardwalk and bridge. If it comes back still too high and you can only do one or the other, I think that would affect ultimately my final decision. So I will just say that. And then let me see. All right, I think I had another thought, but let me think that through before I say anything about it. So I'm certainly open to a discussion, Kat, on doing a warrant article for phase one for the monies that weren't used because you were good enough to get the grants on that money. So I'm amenable to that, absolutely. These are just some initial thoughts for me. And I will just add that me personally would probably be looking to, I know it was December of 2026, I would be looking to December of 2027 because this was from town meeting 24 and it would be adding another 2 years. And hopefully it won't come to that, but to me, it's an easy enough ask to come back and ask. So I will kind of leave it at that. And Katie,
Can I ask a clarifying?
absolutely.
So all of that was really great. And we're looking for CPC to kind of help us because we would need to figure out what the warrant would need to say to provide flexibility enough to be able to shift directions if we could in a legal way, right? Like if, for example, we vote to, if the town says yes to sharing to moving funds from phase 1 to phase 2, and then we do determine that we can't do one or the other. But I think what we're hoping for and what we expect now that we're years into this project and engineering is done, that we're going to have a really solid sense of whether we're going to do one or the other. And we would have that solid sense like before the warrant goes to
Okay.
get published, right? That would be
That's,
our ideal. We don't want to have to change things midway again. We really just want to get the project done in that way.
Yep.
So my second question to you is that December 2027, you said, so it's easier, so it's okay. So we would be okay with that, that shift to 2027. Are you saying that, and the only reason we went to 2028 is like, if, for example, we had to go get more money and we had to do grants, there's new grant cycles. So it puts us into like mid 2027, if it's Mass Trails, if we are more successful. So I'm just spitballing ideas. So would you, if something like that happened, how would CPC, and you might not be able to answer that because none of you might be a different group, but having to ask for an extension of time again, that's what we were trying to kind of be comprehensive about and conservative with our continuing to come back. And if we hit it once, we hit it right. That's what we were thinking. So
The timeline, I don't believe needs, the way it was written. You can come and ask the CPC, just like you're doing tonight, with a much lesser acts to extend it. And when you've got a project that's moving forward and you need a little more time, I can't imagine any
Can't either.
committee is not going to say, if you need it,
Okay.
go ahead. But I think what Lisa's saying, it gives the committee some confirmation that the project's moving forward in a timely manner.
Yeah.
And then the ask is just coming in.
Yeah.
I wanted to also say something about the ask for the contingency. You would, two things, if I may, Lisa.
no, go.
One is for the phase 1, you would not release those now until town meeting approved moving it over because that's a whole bucket.
Yep.
And two, I would just share some concern that you have no contingency money like you if something happens. So the committee can always vote. That's not a town meeting vote. You come to the committee and ask for it, but doing it ahead of time to say you're going to use that,
Mhm.
now you have no safety net. And I think you need to be looking at a project that you can work on so that by the time you're talking 2027, maybe 2028, what if costs go up again and you've started the project? I'm just saying, that's why we put the contingency into the project so that if something happens, you have some wiggle room to move forward. And if you take away the contingency money, now you're up a creek if it, and you have no idea if CPA will have funds in their accounts available to even go to another town meeting. So I would maybe consider, how much to leave in that, but I would not say take it all away from the phase 2. And it's also early in the game to even talk about that, right? So I don't think that's a vote for now.
Well, I appreciate that perspective and fully respect it. Early in the game, I think we feel differently about that time frame because it's we now know so much more after engineering, after going to 2 bids. So that's, I think, where we kind of felt like, but we're comfortable with your suggestion of leaving it in contingency.
It's just my recommendation. It's up to the committee to consider
Yeah,
that. but-
it's more about a known number and the contingency is 15%, I think, on the 211. It's a sizable number. So if we did
Mhm.
have that, we could, we knew we would be able to use that money versus we might be able to use that money, right? Because
Okay.
it's not guaranteed.
All right, thank you. And before I go to you, Katie, I just want to say that for the committee that I was extremely tied up the last couple of days, so I want to thank Freddie for actually taking the time to pull information together and to meet with Kat and, you know, to come up with a plan. So Freddie, thank you. I really appreciate you doing that as we're,
May I say that I would like to acknowledge the work that Kat put into this after our conversation and what she put together. It was very helpful, what exactly the type of information I was talking to her on the phone about pulling together so that the committee would have some solid information about what you're looking for. So thank you.
thank you. Okay, Katie.
Yeah, I don't want to talk out of school. I'm a little new. There's some reservations, but I also do support the project, so.
Thank
that's
you.
all I have.
Grant?
Yeah, I'm also in support of the project. I just have a couple questions. I didn't have a chance to review it just because we got it today. Just give me 1 second here. So I guess my main question is, so the bid came back essentially twice as high as expected, right? 427 over 211, right?
Yeah.
And so even if we were to transfer the 47,000 in contingency, in terms of your original scope, you're still short 150-ish based on my rough math. So, you know, would you be, I think this is a question for the committee, you know, should we be looking to potentially fund more for this project if we want to see the original vision? I know that's not what you're asking for, but, you know, if we wanted the original fiberglass bridge and that's what it's going to cost, like, is that something that we want to consider? Or are you moving in a completely separate direction and you're done with the fiberglass bridge and now it's going to be a different cost completely?
Yeah, it's the right question. And I think at this point, we preferred the fiberglass for the reasons we've been promoting it for years, but we don't have the funding. We're not coming back to CPC for more money. And so that's why we're shifting gears. And it's unfortunate, but I'm a hiker and a backpacker and I'm always out in the woods. And I'm like, these large bridges out here are made of wood. Like, we can just do this. Like, they're out there and they're surviving the test of time. And I'm like, you know, if we have to, this is our pivot point. Like, we want this project to come forward. We don't want to keep trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's not going to work. Like, we've tried twice, right? 3 times a charm. And so now we're going to pivot to something that's less expensive. We'll still get 25 plus years, some maintenance in there, you know, that's why we're kind of deciding that.
Okay, that's helpful. Thanks. And then I'm not sure if I saw it in here, I might have missed it, but in terms of the estimated reduced costs, do you have that yet, or is that
It's
not
rough,
yet?
like 30 to 60% less expensive, but that's has to be confirmed and vetted.
Okay.
Yeah.
So still, it's an open question about even with the 47,000 and taking the full contingency out of that, it might not be enough to reach that.
Well,
The full, to cover the
to
full
cover
cost
full
of the project.
structures, right? So ideally, we would know before we go to warrant article, like if we had to, the warrant article would be like, okay, if we decided that, okay, we don't have enough funds, we're not sure we're going to be able to build both, we're just going to focus on the bridge. And so we would ask, that would be a guidance question from CPC, because the town has already voted on 2 structures. They would then have to reconsider the project. And what does that mean? You know, is that
Okay.
even viable? Is that even possible? Like,
Right.
we're not sure. We're here to ask.
Okay. So just in general, I view these, even though they're separately, you know, 2 projects, I view it all as the Peninsula Trail. So I would be in favor of doing what we can to bring the money over, just to move the overall project along. My only question is, I guess, if we get a better sense of the overall cost of what essentially the reduced price of the new project is, and let's just say it would require, I don't know, $10,000 in additional CPA funds or something, maybe that would be worth it to ask for 57,000 instead of 47 in a new warrant article to get what you want, both structures in a reduced format. But
But is
right
that too
right now.
late? You guys already have.
I was
application
just going to say that that's my
Past
concern,
that.
Grant, is we created a handbook, we did an application process, and I understand this has come in, but it's come in really late.
Oh, I understand.
We're going to find ourselves in a pickle again next year, which is what we all wanted to avoid. Not that we're not supportive, and Kat,
No,
I was
I don't take
on
it that
the select board when this first came forward, so,
No, I
you
understand.
know, I think we just need to be very careful before we may open a door that we may wish at some point with some future applicant that,
Yeah.
you know, that there's a process and, yeah, so I'll just say that's just my opinion, Grant. I'm one of 6. So everybody else may feel completely differently, but I just think we should be careful and hopefully, Kat, I mean, I am definitely in favor of putting a placeholder on the 47,000. That's
Thank you.
just my 2 cents. And, but as far as, you know, potentially coming back asking
we're-
for a lot more,
We're not, yeah. we're not
I would hesitate at that. So, well, that's all. Sorry. Grant, were you done? Sorry. Take your time. Okay. I was gonna say, okay. Ellen?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Kat, for coming in, working with Lisa and Freddie to put all this together. I think my question is mostly around kind of what, and this might just be looking back at the warrant article, but kind of what conditions do we have for when we can release contingency funds? Like, is that fully a committee decision that if a project needs more money for what we deem to be a reasonable expense, then we can release them? Or are there certain kind of parameters we have for what that can be used for?
Well, this falls under what it could be used for, which is when first of all, it has to be unexpected. And it has to be for costs related to the project. And it's totally within the committee's purview to take a vote and consider it. And my comments before were not about not releasing it, but to the concern about not having anything as a backup in the future, like as the project moves forward, what if you need more? And looking at the project, like, for example, the contingency for the first project, you can't vote on releasing them until you move it over to the second phase. And then you could immediately, because the first phase is done, you could release those at that time. But I had some concern about releasing all of the money because what are you going, you know, like and this is a planning for the Trails Committee, like how much money you want to try to keep it under those contingency monies because something could come up.
Yes, we understand that.
So I don't know if that helps your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. And I think, yeah, those are both things we definitely need to think about. So I think, yeah, that answered my understanding of, like you said, it has to be unexpected, cost related to the project. And then I think, yeah, the separate issue of then not having additional contingency funds. But yeah, that was my only question. So thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Grant, can you promote Claire? I guess
I
she's,
did.
oh, you did. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
I'm
Kristen.
promoted. Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
That's okay.
Hi, Claire.
Kristen, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the points just made. I have one question or maybe a suggestion, and if this is just me, by all means, let me know. I appreciate all the work that you and Freddie clearly put into this. As a next iteration, at least for myself, and I think when it comes time, if we have to approach the public, what might be good is now to take all of this and put it into like a chart or a table format that shows like phase 1 and phase 2, original scope, money spent, money remaining, proposed scope change, what gets done, what doesn't get done, and new timelines. Because I'm trying to follow it all, but
I know, it's hard.
and I know it's hard. And it's great. You've got it all here, right? It's just summarizing it in a way that people can see, oh, this is what we approved. You know, this is, and if we bring something forward, you know, this is how it compares to where we are now and what we're asking for, you know, any useful information just to be able to see it all in one table. Again, I open to other people giving feedback if you think that's worth it.
Yeah, no, that's a great suggestion. I think we struggle a little bit trying, it's always been complex. And it's,
Yeah.
when you sit down in front of the paper, it's like, how do you make this one page? And obviously I did not succeed because it's 3 pages. But thank you very much, Kristen.
And I'd be happy to help too.
I
So,
was going to
let me
say,
know.
I might reach out to you.
Yeah,
to do a
absolutely.
test,
Absolutely.
A beta test. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Claire, I know you just kind of walked into this discussion. I don't know if you want to ask a question or add anything. It's, we
No,
haven't
but
voted
I-
on the, sorry, go
No,
ahead.
but thanks. I really like what Kristen just said about the table prospect, because I think it's really, particularly when you're trying to present something, it just is so hard for people to understand this, that most it can be simplified is better.
Yep.
But that's it.
So what I would ask of the, oh, sorry, Freddie, did you want to add anything else before I go forward?
One question, is this eligible to reapply to the recreation grant?
So I think it would be, but I wouldn't try to do this session because it's due Feb 2nd. So I would look at doing the 2027 session, which would open up in November of 2026 and be submitted early February in 2027. They would then release the awards by May, June of 2027. And so, and then there's contracting and you can get started after that. That would run us up against the, deadline, but we can work with that if that ever comes to that point. Yeah.
Can I ask one more question? Is this also something, I'm not sure what decision points we're at tonight, but like, is fall town meeting another consideration if we're rushing it now?
No, please. So, Kristen, I think for what my ask would be for tonight is, obviously, there's a lot of information here. We've asked a lot of questions. There's a lot to mull over. Kat's going to get some more information from the engineer. What I would suggest is we reach a consensus if we're willing to at least consider a placeholder for one, if not two articles, one for phase one and then one for phase two if we need it. And then Kat can come back in January. We can discuss a little more and maybe make a final decision then, but I'd be willing to just commit to putting a placeholder now and continuing the discussion into January.
Just so I'm clear, the two warrant articles, the first one is to transfer the funds from phase one to phase two. What is
Correct.
the second one?
I don't know if there's going to be a
Oh, I
second
see.
one yet.
Okay.
I'm kind of putting it there.
I think
for
it's really
phase-
smart because if we change the scope of the project to be either
Exactly.
or, that would be the second article.
Exactly. So I just think it gives us an opportunity and we may shut that door in January, but I think.
No, that's fine. I just
Okay.
wasn't sure if I missed it.
No, sorry. So again, I don't know that we need to take an official vote on this. But I would just ask the board committee again to consider two placeholders at this point. One, to shift phase one monies over, and two, in case there's something within phase two that we would need to ask town meeting for. And again, this is just for a placeholder for additional discussions in January. Katie?
Yep, I support that.
Okay. Grant?
I support that.
Ellen?
Sorry, so many buttons. Yes, I'm in favor of that too.
Okay, great. Thank you. Kristen?
Yeah, I would just reiterate what I said for historical. Once we know that date that we need to have everything done, like really setting a true drop dead date, in fairness to everybody involved as well as the public to, stay up to speed.
Agreed. And Claire?
Yeah, agree. I just think that, as Kristen said, in fairness to other people, that we've talked about drop dead dates before. I'm not really all that familiar because I missed the first part. So, but it seems like it's reasonable to hold it, and assuming that you get the information in a reasonable time.
Okay,
I have one other.
go ahead.
In the case of only being able to do the bridge and not the boardwalk, the committee, you should have I suggest you have a plan showing what the layout of both, and then compare what would happen without the boardwalk.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about having some other way to get across and showing that, so that people have some level of confidence, as we discussed, that it's not a bridge to dead end.
Thank you.
Okay. And what I'll do too, everybody, is I will put the two warrant articles, the original warrant articles for phase one and phase two in the Dropbox. I will put Kat's overview again. I'll keep it all together in the Dropbox. So,
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
I just want to touch on one quick point because I asked myself this question because I was channeling Mark. And in case it dawns on anyone, whether this is bid splitting, right? That's a consideration that we should be thinking about. And I've done a little bit of research, and because bid splitting is really about trying to avoid thresholds and going to bid, and you're trying to, separate a project out, maybe to save money here or there, because I think we have a good case and we would need to run it through legal, but these are very separate projects that could each be their own project. And I don't think it would qualify as bid splitting, but we would obviously want to get a legal opinion to ensure and insulate ourselves or yourselves from any questions the public or others might have in insinuating that might be the case, because we have a lot of justification for why that's not what we're trying to do here.
Can you explain that? May I, Lisa? Sorry.
Yep.
Bid splitting, are you talking about going out to bid on just the boardwalk and just
Or
the,
just right, if we decide that we have to separate the project, right? Because we had a lot of discussion about that when we were initially doing things, bid splitting. And so I just want to make sure, because we are splitting the project, we could potentially split the project. So I just wanted to address that.
but you wouldn't be doing both? You would be, if you have to,
Right, but if
you just, that's for information, you
but
wouldn't,
Yeah, in the
you wouldn't
future,
do both.
But in the future, we'd go back and do the other one. For example, if we only can do one, then, we're not going to stop there. We're going to bring that to finish. And then in the future, we will come back and do the boardwalk.
So it becomes two separate projects
Exactly.
in the future, not one project that you're going to try to
Exactly.
do both at the same time. That's more.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an issue, but
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you very much.
One other thing I'll note, just, I know that timing is tight if, additional, for another application for additional funds, that kind of thing, but I'll just put out there that I would be, because I think this is kind of an extraordinary circumstance, would be open to, if extra money is needed down the road at a fall town meeting, I would be open to kind of hearing that and going forward. I don't know if that's in the plans or not. It doesn't sound like it is, but if it's needed, I would be open to that.
And we can certainly discuss that when Kat comes back in January as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'll just say thank you very much. We feel very supported by CPC, and we know this has been a very complex project from the beginning, and you've really hung in there, and we really appreciate that. And Freddie, your time yesterday was incredible. I really appreciate it. I know it was stressful because I was stressful, but I really appreciate your consideration of helping us trying to find a path forward, because that's really what we believe in the project. We believe it's a good project, and we really wanted it to be successful, and we just have to redirect and pivot to another point and find another way. And that's just where we're at. So we appreciate your support on that.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Come up to the mic so everybody can hear.
No, I just wanted to say, the Trails falls under the rec. So Kat has done an incredible job trying to navigate meetings with procurement, engineers, contractors, and bringing me up to speed because I've only been here for a year and a half. She's been great to work with, and I don't know how she has the time to do it all. So she's done an incredible job.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
So before we go to the budget review, based on what's transpired here tonight, I'm going to offer a suggestion to the committee. And again, you can yay and nay. My suggestion is going to be that at this point, it seems like at least 2 of the projects are going to go to January before final decisions are made, because we're still waiting on additional information. So I guess my question to the committee is, we'll still do the budget review, of course, because I think that's important going in. And I know, again, I'm trying to stick to the structure of the handbook, but again, I think that there's a lot of information still out there. So my suggestion would be that we extend the final vote until our January meeting on the cemetery and on the Fayville Park improvements projects till we get additional information. That'll also give us time to mull over the budget that Freddie's going to give us. It's 9 o'clock now. So I think by the time we get through everything, that's just a suggestion. I would suggest that we take a position on the trust. That seemed to be a pretty easy one to take. So again, I'll open that up to everybody to get your thoughts on.
Yep, I completely agree and I appreciate it. I'm close to turning into a pumpkin, so I love it. But yeah, I support that.
Okay, Grant, your thoughts?
I agree as well.
Okay, thank you. Ellen?
Agreed.
Okay, Kristen?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, nope, that's fine. And Claire? Okay, we'll come back, but
Sorry, I couldn't get back to the Zoom screen.
that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Good idea.
Want to add?
So for the money being requested, we don't have an answer tonight for what I believe they want, which is how much is in the housing bucket. And that will become clear when we go through the budget later. So I don't think you can make a final vote, but you could make a vote to move forward and allow me to start drafting the warrant article so you could look at it at the next meeting with the conditions from the original one, and you could look and see if there was something else you wanted to add or take out. That would be something you could do tonight.
And I think that's what we've done previously, with the final numbers not being finalized until the warrant articles are completed or throughout that drafting phase. So I think that makes sense.
Okay. So we would need a motion. I'm just trying to think how to do this, to conditionally approve the Affordable Housing Trust application number to be determined.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Katie?
Aye.
Grant?
Aye.
Ellen?
Aye.
Kristen?
I
Claire?
I'm sorry, I missed something. Was there discussion on, we're voting on a number to be determined. Why wouldn't we just wait until we know when the number is going to be determined?
Because the process is we're voting whether to move this forward, we're going to hold off on the Fayville and the cemetery, but we talked about
Understood.
tonight.
Yeah,
We talked about the Affordable Housing Trust. We're just not sure of the final number yet, but we were supportive, that's what this vote is to be supportive of moving the article
Okay, all right.
forward with conditions, Claire.
okay.
And I'm going to
thank you.
provide you with, everybody with what the warrant article was last year and the conditions. It was pretty extensive.
Okay, all righty, thank you.
Okay, so are you,
Yeah, I'm a yes.
okay, and I'm a yes as well. Okay, so, ready? Did you? Oh, I thought you were trying to say something. Okay. So that brings us to the rural cemetery and Fayville Park. So we will come back with those. We'll determine a date at the end of the meeting. We'll let the not proponents, sorry, I'm planning board hat. We'll let them know and, we'll vote at that time once we have additional information, final budget numbers. I think it just makes sense. And where town meeting is in April, I want to say it's the 10th, the 11th. That sound right? Something like that. So I think doing the extension on these two makes a lot of sense to get all the information we need. So Travis, that being said, I don't think there's anything else for you. We're not going to take a position tonight. We're going to wait for the additional information and you don't have to hang around for the budget or any of that stuff. So we're not going to go down that road. So thank you. Much appreciated.
Thanks.
You too. So.
And then we still
ready?
have, oh, sorry.
No,
I was
go
just
ahead.
going to say, we have Kevin and Doug online still as well. Do we have anything else for them or should we let them go if they
I
would like
think
to?
they're good. And again, Kevin and Doug, go ahead. Who's trying to talk?
Well, because I don't know that we're taking a vote or not, but I had that one statement, and in fairness, I think, it's in
I'm sorry.
regard.
I forgot, Kristen, please go ahead. I apologize.
I'll try to keep this brief, guys. I know it's a late night, and I honestly, given my circumstances, didn't have as much time. But first, I just want to make it really clear, I support the mission of the Affordable Housing Committee. I respect your knowledge, your efforts, and very much understand the urgency we have to expand our affordable housing, because after years of these funds sitting there and not being used by any committees, we're eager to do so. I do want to say I'm not intending to start a debate tonight. I'm not expecting you to respond. By all means, if you'd like to, you can, because I think what I'm bringing up is more of a discussion that needs to happen between now and town meeting amongst ourselves, but also with the public. And then, obviously continue that on town meeting floor. So I'm not in support, or if we were voting or are voting, I'm not planning on voting for it tonight. And I just want to briefly explain why. And again, just look to continue the discussion, at least with the public in the coming months. I was going to recap for the public some of the brief history from last year's discussions, but as no one's on, and I'm not sure anyone will watch, I'll hold ourselves from doing that, other than it was the first time that we handed over money from the affordable housing CPA funds without, a really defined project that the town would have the opportunity to weigh in on. And we worked together and we developed the conditions and we brought legal in. And I think there was still I know I still had some apprehension of kind of the wide net that's been cast. And a lot of that hinged, as we know, around the property at where the water tower is on Atwood Street and the adjacent property, and how it had been pursued leading up to last year's article, had left a bad taste in people's mouths. It's something we talked about a lot. The legal counsel, we talked about grant agreements. We're not going to build agreements between two town entities. And at the time, counsel said, look, do it this first year, see how it goes. And then, you can make a different decision when they come back for more money. And again, this is not to knock anyone's efforts, but I tried to take notes to make this quick, but I'm not doing very well, am I? I mean, particularly considering the south side of town and, how this year progressed. The south side of town, as we know, already being challenged with quite a bit. And really, I think what I'm going to bring up is questions that should also be considered when looking at the proposed changes brought to the planning board in regards to 55 plus housing. I, as a community member, would be really interested in understanding a bit more behind the strategy, because 40 Atwood and the water tower property was, kind of a point of I wouldn't want to say contention, but it was something we discussed a lot last year. And this year, other than your meetings, I'm not sure how much engagement there was with the public, but I was surprised to hear when there was a possible article coming forward to spend $200,000 of the affordable housing money on cleanup of the lead paint issues that we found as a result of the water tower. And I know you didn't ultimately put that forward, but the fact is it was considered enough to draft an article, and that concerns me. I think personally, before we continue forward with the conditions as laid out, I think the community should have more of an opportunity to have some input on overall strategy. We're giving decision-making for a large quantity of funds, as well as our affordable housing strategy going forward, to a very small group. So I'm concerned about the amount of input we've received from the public, especially given what continues to happen on Atwood Street. So I'd like to look at the latest housing and population density and distribution, including the new multi-units in affordable housing coming out of the planned MBTA communities, the additional traffic, almost like a heat map of sorts of not only the houses, multi-unit houses, affordable housing, and just general population. I think that would be interesting as we're thinking about how should the town progress in building out more multifamily units and affordable housing. Other things are happening within the South Side already. Again, the new MBTA communities. There's select board members who are seemingly continuously trying to sell 21 Highland, potentially to nonprofit. The future of Finn, is being considered. And again, we already have several new developments already in progress and planned. So how, for a future discussion and for knowledge leading up to town meeting, how is affordable housing being defined by your teams? Is that 80% of the average income? And does that really make sense? How are you taking all those considerations I mentioned, or are you taking those considerations I mentioned when you're developing your overall strategy? I just would like to see more of a plan that the town has provided input on, because this first year out, felt like the fact that the focus remained on that one property, as well as spending money that didn't fit into, potentially spending money that didn't fit into our conditions, made me think we need to take a pause. And I don't mean to kick the can down the road. I completely understand that, we need affordable housing, but if we learned anything from NARI, our community should understand options and how we're maximizing the use of our tax funds put to affordable housing. And I just don't know that conversation's taken place broadly enough. So again, I just want to be future thinking and how affordable housing should be handled and distributed throughout our town. And that was not as brief as I had meant to, so I'm sorry about that. But again, not looking to start a debate. It's not going to change anything tonight. Certainly people can comment, but that's some of the conversation I think we need to see take shape before annual town meeting. Thanks.
So, Kristen, we just took a vote to support moving this forward with conditions to town meeting. Are you asking us to rescind the vote that we just took?
I'm sorry. I
Or do you want to
thought
change your vote?
I want to change my vote. I thought I was voting on something different. I'm sorry.
No, sorry. No, it was, again, just to move forward in the process. And we held off on votes on the cemetery in Fayetteville Park.
Right. But we haven't voted. Did we vote on? I'm sorry. I agreed to moving those forward. I'm not stopping this from moving forward. I didn't know if we were making our final article votes tonight, but it doesn't sound like it.
No, so we voted whether or not to essentially proceed with that article to bring it forward to town meeting, but we haven't voted on warrant article.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
that kind of thing. So I believe you voted yes to move it forward.
And that's fine. Again, when we take a final vote,
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to be sure, Kristen. Okay, so Betty, do you want to do the budget review? And again, we can mull that over as we, after the holidays and, as we gear up for the next meeting. So do you want?
Can he put it up? on
Yep,
the-
absolutely. Just tell them which one. There was 2 different pages.
Yeah.
There's actually, yeah,
Well,
do the,
2 different
yeah,
documents.
so do the, first of all, this is draft. And it should have said it all over the paper, but it makes it hard to read, so I just had it in the title. There is the fiscal year 27 CPC budget should be a tab, that one there, yeah. Does that get any,
This one or wait,
that one there, yeah,
what's the other one? So the first
not
one?
that.
Okay.
So this here is telling you what, first of all, these numbers have been gone over, I created the budget. I got input from town treasurer and the town accountant, and then I pulled it together, and before I sent it on to be put in the Dropbox, I had it reviewed by both treasurer and Brian Valentine and Carla, the town accountant. So, but there's unknowns, and I'll just say that. So first of all, we have a surcharge, and this is estimated based against what we had last year with 4.5% increase based on town treasurer estimate of how much taxes might go up this year. Just so you know, last year, I think we did it at 4%, and the taxes came in at 7.6 over. So it took a while to get the final, what was billed out for taxes last year, and then to use that number to do our best estimate. And as we get closer to town meeting, if that looks like it's going to be higher, we would go up. And I doubt we'd be going down, but that could be happening also. So you have that. And then the next number is the state distribution. And that is based on last year's billed dollar amount. And at this point, it's throwing a dart with a blindfold on because it's still early in the game to have any idea. So I used 10%, which is low, but I'd rather go up then disappoint people by lowering it. Last year, it came in at 16%. So that could actually be, if it's in the 16% again this year, that could be another 50% of that, almost $50,000, right? So that could go up. But that gives you your total amount, then you take the 10% out, that gives you how much of funds and the admin money. You take those percentages out, and that leaves you with how much you have to pay the bonds that we're required to pay. After you take those bonds out, you have how much funding is left to use towards projects for the years. And that came in under this estimate of, you know, the fiscal match and, I mean, the state, not match, the state distribution and our surcharge, that leaves us with $129,533 anticipated revenue that we could use towards a project. Everyone okay with that? So then you can go to the next page. Not that.
Not that?
No, go to the first
Oh.
spreadsheet and the second worksheet.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this here is telling you how much are in the various accounts. And where the historic, we always use that funding towards one of the historic bonds. So that's why it's 0. The reason it has the 2484 is because last year we did, after we had allocated the funds, we had a adjustment based on an under estimate of the surcharge from the prior year. So that's what that is. The open space has continued to grow, and the housing, last year you left 100,000. And if you add the 46 and the 55, that equals 100,200. I mean, 100,000, 2,040, $484 because you had that extra surcharge. I mean, that extra, the extra adjustment. Okay, so right now you had determined you wanted to leave 100,000 in that account. And with this year's, right now, estimated 56,772, that leaves you with $59,258.09 towards extra above and beyond the 100,000 you wanted to keep. And you can also vote to change that, right? That's the only reason the 100,000 is being reserved is because the committee determined they wanted to. So that's up to you. You know, no one's making you do that. It's up to your decision. So then this next amount is the 682,967.89. That is right out of when they close out the accounts at the end of the year and it gets certified by DOR. That's how much is in think of it as the main fund. Last year, we also had some funding we didn't use from the anticipated revenue, and that got put into the fiscal year 26 budgeted reserve. We put it in the budgeted reserve so that if a project came up before the tax rate is set, say in a fall town meeting, you could use that money. Otherwise, it's locked in until the end of the fiscal year. So it creates another account. It's a holding place. And at the end of the fiscal year, it gets dropped into the CPA fund balance. However, we have a bond from the townhouse. It's a short-term bond, and that payment is against, it's due in June of this year, so it's fiscal year 26, so it comes out of that account. That's why you're seeing that reduced. The CPA budgeted reserve, that is only determined, you could, from the prior page, the anticipated revenue after we take out the reserve amounts and pay the bonds. And you can use that towards an existing project this year, say the water tower, and there would be nothing in the CPA budgeted reserve if you so use it. That's up to, it's a funding decision when we get all the numbers together, okay? So that leaves you with how much you have available to put towards projects right now as a draft amount. Again, The surcharge at 4.5% is unknown right now. We'll have better numbers as we get closer to writing the warrant. And the state match will have some better numbers. And then what you have altogether is $974,354.90. So does that? Oh, and we have to save. There's another bond that will be coming out in fiscal year 27 that hasn't been issued yet, but we will have to make payments on it. So we will be setting aside the 34,475, which is the treasurer's estimate of what it will cost. That's also draft because of some other bonding situations.
That would be subtracted from the 974 in terms of essentially usable funds. Is that correct?
I believe. No, if you go to the first page, I already took it out over there.
Okay.
I accounted for it.
Yep.
I accounted for it on the, with the other bonds.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So is that clear? Any questions on that portion?
Katie?
No.
Grant?
Nope.
Ellen?
No, thank you, Freddie.
Kristen?
Nope.
Claire?
No, I'll have to look and see if I do have any questions. Where is the kind of like the background of how I'm not questioning the numbers or anything, but just at a higher level of how I understand the bonding, I understand the set-asides and everything, but and this is probably the same format that's been used every year.
Correct. I simplified it. Lisa's also agreed to that because of keeping it not in the weeds.
Okay.
But I'm happy to, provide the backup for that.
Yeah, no, one of the questions that kind of, when you were explaining it, is there a list that says, for example, you said there's one coming up in, I think you said FY27? I might have that wrong, the next year.
Correct.
So, and this might be a dumb question on my part, but is 27 about the furthest you can forecast it out? Or is there like a bond schedule?
Well, that's the next worksheet.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. All right.
And also, Claire, Freddie's happy to have a conversation as well offline if, that would be more helpful to go through this in a little bit more detail.
Well, that would be great. I'm not exactly sure you want to do that, but I will get my questions together. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Freddie. I'm sorry, did I get everybody? I did.
Did Kristen
I did ask Kristen, and
Okay.
she said she was set. Okay,
and Ellen said she was?
Ellen said
okay.
she was set. Yep,
All right, so if you bring up the bond?
This one, right?
yep,
Okay. So this is in the Dropbox, correct?
yes.
All right, so what we have is, if you look in the first column, the surcharge, so this is a sheet I have been keeping since we started having bonds, just to see what our bonding capacity is, but it's useful for other purposes. And what happened is, I was trying to figure out if we could bond another project in the future and when we had used all of our bonding capacity, when we would actually reach having some ability to issue another bond. And I did it, and the first one I got had the surcharge. I think Brian did it for me, and the CPC surcharge stayed the same. And one thing we know is taxes always go up. So I ran all the 10 years at the time and divided by however many years and divided, and we came up with taxes had consistently averaged about 3% increase each year. So I increased it by 3%. And then what I've done here, those past numbers don't matter anymore. The 495 is a billed amount. That was with the 7.6% increase. So that was an actual, solid number. And then from there on in, the 518, I multiplied out by the 4.5% that Brian estimated for this year, the town treasurer. And then after that, those are all at 3% because, you don't want to overestimate what the taxes are going up by, but those can be adjusted as needed. Then what you have is the Burnett House. It's a 20-year bond. Those numbers are solid. Then you have the library. It's $1 million bond. Those numbers are solid. Then you have the townhouse. Now, the townhouse is a little bit more complicated because the town treasurer determined not to bond that we authorized, I don't know if it's written here, but over 2 million. I think it was 2 million.
2.2, I think, something like that.
So we authorized over 2 million in bonding. We also had another 275,000 we took out of the general reserve fund. So there were complicated pieces there. And then Brian determined that because of the schedule of doing the work, he didn't need to bond it all at once. So we only bonded out, what does that say there? 1,530,000. And that's what you have in the bonding account, column. However, one of the things, and once a bond, once we authorize bonding, the treasurer doesn't always bond it right away. He is often waiting to put a package together with other things the town is bonding to get the best rate possible. And in that period of time, he does a short-term bond, which is why the first year, the 32,453 isn't a full amount. You see the next year it's 141. That's because it was only a partial year, because he had taken out a short-term note to pay the bills that were coming due, and we paid just the interest. So that's what that column is. So then that left an additional 350, well, there was more, but we can go over that another night. There was a total of 500,000, but we determined that we didn't need all of it. So he didn't take a short-term note out on that. That was determined last year or the year before. So there's 350 right now in a short-term note. And that is the 14,438 to cover that short-term note interest. And then if we bonded it out, that's starting with the line 34,000 going down, that's what he's estimating that bond will come in at. Is everyone following so far? The reason the 34,475 might be less is because currently there's $99,000, is that in the surplus proceeds account. So when you take a bond out, the money goes into an account, and then it's twofold, right? You have how much the bond we pay on it, and then it's also how much is in the account that we can use. And the townhouse is almost complete. We haven't closed it out. It doesn't have the PR, it doesn't have signage. And until it's complete, we didn't give up all of the funding, right? So there's 99,000, and that money can be used to lower the 350 that he has to take a bond out on. So that would lower the amount of the yearly payments. Is that clear? Mm-hmm. Okay. Then, if you go to the next column, you add up all the debt. So going to fiscal year 20, I don't have. For fiscal year 26, we're going into fiscal year 27. That's what we're looking at, okay? So you add up all of the anticipated, well, the first three columns are absolutes because those have been bonded, and then the 34, which could be less. But you come up with the 296, 263 is the total amount of all the bonds. Then what you have for bonding capacity is you can only bond against the surcharge, not the state distribution. So you take the surcharge, which is the 518, the anticipated, from the first column times 75%. Why 75%? Because out of that, you have to put money into this, the set-asides and the admin, but you take, it's not, why it's not 65%, because whatever the project is, it's going to cover one of those buckets, as we used to call them, so that you don't have to take, you don't have to account for it out of the bonding capacity.
Could you just repeat what the bonding capacity is, what's multiplied by each other in order to get that number?
So you take the 518,
Which is?
First column.
Oh, first
the
column, yep.
anticipated surcharge
Yep,
times 75%.
okay, gotcha.
So now that's how much money you can spend on bonds. And then you have to subtract
Yep.
the total debt, leaving us with $92,345 of surcharge, anticipated surcharge that's not committed to bonds or set aside. Does that make it clear? Then you have to go and talk to the treasurer, and using his expertise, we have $92,000 available for a bond payment this year. What size bond can we get? And it's variable because, you know, interest rates and what package he puts together. But his best estimate is that the $92,345 could cover if you wanted to authorize up to around $1 million. So in addition to on the first sheet, the 900, I don't have it memorized, 974,000, you have funding capacity of an additional up to $1 million in that ballpark of bonding capacity. In both scenarios, so that you could bond $1 million on a project, or you could spend the 900, or you could spend up to 1,900,000. So, and leave yourself. Now, the other way to use this bonding capacity is if you look at the available bonding capacity payment, that's kind of like how much as a, you know, as a scheduled future 3% annual increase, how much you will have in available funds without counting any state match. So if you spend everything between what's in the accounts and the bonding capacity, next year you'd be looking at 113,000 to spend on projects. So it is a forecasting tool. It's not, you know, 100% exact, but for forecasting, I think it's pretty, I'll say I think it's pretty darn tootin' good. It gives you an idea of where you stand. So if you have any questions, and if you understand that, I did a really good job of explaining it because it's complicated.
Freddie, I have a question. If you scroll back up a couple rows, where you have the amount authorized, you have $970 for the Burnett House, you have $1,040 for the library. How come there's no amounts for the townhouse?
It says 1,530,000, and then it says 350,000.
Saying it didn't come down.
Oh, no, I'm looking further down.
Yeah, she's
Okay, I see what you're,
The Burnett House.
I'm
carried down.
looking,
wait,
just to have the same format. I see what you're,
Carry this down. It didn't carry these.
yeah, there you go. It's row C.
There's
It
one
looks
in
like
row
it's
C
C.
and one in row,
Oh,
That's
C4 and
It just didn't carry it down.
C16.
Yep.
How did
yeah,
those?
that's just, I'll tell you, because I just got that schedule
It looks
from the
like
town.
it looks like it's line 14 or row 14.
It is.
Let me explain. I had the Burnett House and the library, and I just got the numbers from the town treasurer right before this meeting, and I just copied his over and he hadn't carried it down, so I'll fix that. It's
Oh,
just-
okay, all right.
It's just,
I mean, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
nothing.
yeah. So, Katie, any questions?
No, it's straightforward. Thank you.
Perfect. Grant?
No, and I understand it, so I think you did a great job explaining it, Freddie.
Agreed.
I'm kind of shocked.
Awesome. Ellen, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I'll second what Grant said. And Freddie, you said this is a simplified version, so I don't want to see the complicated version, but I feel like this really did help my understanding of it. So thank you. The like annotations, the explanations, yeah, what that bonding capacity can cover, or what we would have anticipated next year if we spent everything. Yeah, I just really appreciate this. So thank you.
I do have to make another comment. The library has money in a bond. Surplus bond proceeds. And I'm not sure that it's on here, but that also is awaiting the PR and the signage. And then that funding would have to be voted at town meeting towards a project. So that's, maybe another 100,000, 100, 300. I mean, sorry.
Is that it?
Was 100,000 plus. So. And what that means is we bonded it and then we didn't spend all the funds. And a lot of this is because we have contingency monies and also if they come in under budget, but I think it's pretty much the contingency. And then we still have some work to be done before we release it. The reason they're different is the library funds were bonded. And DOR has strict rules on how you can use surplus funds. Last year, we had released some that we just needed to take a vote that was under $50,000. So that is handled one way. Over $50,000, you have to go to town meeting and say we're releasing this bond money by putting it towards another project. In the case of the townhouse, the 32,453 that were the 34,475. That's in a short-term note. He hasn't bonded it yet, so we have the option not to bond it. And if I just confused you, we can go over that another time because it's late.
Kristen?
Yeah, first, I apologize for continuing to turn my video off, but it's just I'm on my phone, so when we pull something up, it's easier for me to see if I turn my video off. No, I agree. I'm not ready for the test, but I certainly followed you, so I appreciate it, and I don't have any other questions right now.
Okay, great. Claire?
Yeah, this is my first time going through this, so I really don't have a good understanding of it. And it wasn't Freddie's explanation. It's just my first time going through it. I don't understand at a high level some of the theory, so to speak.
Okay, Claire, we can schedule some time that you can sit with Freddie.
Sure.
Yeah,
Be happy
definitely.
to. And I also want to say this, bonding capacity schedule is something I came up with years ago. It wasn't any format. It wasn't any, it was just like, if we want to bond money, how much can we spend? And then how do you forecast that out by doing the projections at increasing the surcharge at 3%. And then each year you can actually put in the new number. So,
okay.
I'd be happy to go over it with you, Claire, though.
All right, you guys can talk offline. Awesome. Thank you. Signage. I think for this meeting, and I'm going to try to whip through this. I don't know if Ellen and Kristen had a chance to talk.
No, and I have to excuse myself shortly.
Okay.
If we
That's
could defer this. I thought we said after the holidays, but I honestly don't know.
Totally fine. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm not looking at my notes. So if everybody's good, we'll defer that to the next meeting. ongoing projects, we'll let go. Just quickly, we had talked about having a minute taker. And Susan, that does the planning board minutes, has agreed to take on our minutes as well. So there's a standard contract that she signed for planning board in the packet. What I'm going to ask the board is, I've gone through and I've highlighted that the pay schedule isn't going to change. It's the standard pay schedule that the town has. I will go through and edit, if the board's willing, and just substitute where it says planning board. We'll do CPC. And I went through it, and then on the scope of services, it references planning board and town planner. I'll just change planning board, obviously, to CPC, and that the copies of the documents referenced in the meeting would go to the town planner. We'll just say CPC chair. We'll just leave it at that, not a name, because I may not be sitting in this seat forever, hopefully. And then I'm just going to change again that our meeting dates Wednesday or Thursday to 7 p.m. And as far as the laptop piece goes, we're just going to take that out because we don't provide a laptop. So it's the standard contract that the minute takers sign. I'm just going to, if the board is fine, I will go ahead and get this executed, just taking out the planning board. I went through it pretty heartily. So
Lisa, I had one question on that. There's no time frame.
So Claire, the time frame I was going to suggest would be from, because I wanted to go back and do the October minutes too. It would be from October 1st through this contract that we have a copy of is through, I think it's June 30th. Yeah, June 30th, 26. So the contract date would be from October 1st through June 30th of 26. And the
Right.
board would at that time discuss and re-up if they wanted to the contract.
But, then I understand that about going for the ones, the back ones. But let's say she started at the January meeting, the time for her to provide a draft copy of the minutes.
Yep. It's called out in here, Claire. Hold on. It's under the scope. It says, bear with me 1 second. For the tasks, hold on. I had called it out in here. For meetings that have already taken place, the draft meeting minutes are to be submitted as expeditiously as possible with the schedule to be worked out with it would say CPC chair. For upcoming meetings, draft minutes must be completed and submitted to the CPC chair within 5 days of the meeting for initial review, followed by revisions for a final draft.
Oh, okay, all right.
So it'll
The
be
reason
within
I
5
brought
days
that
of
up,
the meeting.
yeah, within 5 days of the meeting for initial review. Okay,
And
because
then we would review it after that.
because the state OML is 10 days. So that's fine.
Okay. Yep. So we have it for 5.
Thank you.
Okay. So again, if the board is satisfied, I mean, this is the going rate for minute takers for the town's policy. I would ask that the board make a motion to offer the CPC recording clerk to Susan Pegney with the contract as amended tonight.
So
For
moved.
discussion.
Second.
Okay. And discussion. Katie, any Grant?
Just a quick question. The funds for this are coming out of the CPA
Admin, it's the only place it can come out of. There's no place else. Yep.
Thanks.
Yep. Any other discussion? Ellen?
Nope.
Kristen?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
Good news.
Claire? Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote then. Katie?
Yes.
Grant?
Enthusiastic, yes.
Yeah, I know, totally. Claire's been great in doing the minutes, by the way, so thank you, Claire. Ellen?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Claire?
Yes.
And Lisa, yes, great, thank you. And that being said, I think the last thing we'll just do is we'll set our next meeting date. If everything, quickly look at your calendars and I will get you out of here really quick. So January.
Not the week of the 12th.
Not the week of the 12th, okay. Why don't we do either the 21st or the 22nd? That gives the applicant plenty of time to get the information that we've requested. That 21st is a Wednesday, 22nd is a Thursday. Is there a preference? Okay, I have a 22nd as a preference. Does the 22nd work for
Yeah, I have no preference.
Okay, so Katie's good with the 22nd, Grant?
21st is easier. If I do the 22nd, I would have to do 7 or later.
I'm sorry, 7?
7 or later.
7, oh, we would do 7 anyway. I think that's kind of what we decided at the last meeting, is 7 works better.
I have a 5 o'clock meeting earlier, but I think that's fine.
Okay, so 7 would work? Okay, Ellen, does 22nd at 7 PM work?
Yes.
Okay, Kristen
Yes.
and Claire.
Yes.
All right, there we go. Next meeting date is set. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. That was pretty quick.
Second.
Second, great. Roll call vote. Katie?
Yes.
Grant?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Claire?
Yes.
And Lisa, yes. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.
Everybody.
Happy
You.
holidays
Oh, yeah. Happy
Happy
holidays.
holidays, that's right. Oh, my gosh.
Happy New Year, all that stuff.
and New Year. Yeah.
All that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.